So it was not too difficult. There it is. With one hand you can see it moving around. So that's that part. So here's another water test for the ventilation. Here's the funnel. But I better do it with two hands. So half a bucket. Oh. One is leaking. Not much. Yeah, it's coming here. So now I can see where it's coming from. Well, that's satisfying to see where it comes from. Very good. So here is the ventilation drain. And here is the rubber tube. Here comes the rudder. The trim rudder. So I'm gonna grind this flat. Maybe have to take a bit of this too. We will see. So something like this. It's gonna be the shape. Now we're gonna see on the inside. Unfortunately, the rudder tube gets into my seat. I have to cut it down a bit. This is the biggest problems designing is the interference. You design one thing, looks good, but then goes into another thing, like the seat, which is also good. So we have to balance them. The plan was to cut the tube when the boat was on its side, but I have to do some lamination up here to make it a bit stronger for the upper bearing. So it'd be much better to do lamination now. So luckily I found out that just in the last minute. So now there's some layers of glass fiber here and also at the bottom. So I don't really think it's needed, but you know, amateur does better than needed. And also over here the leak is plugged, so we'll see if that helps. So a good thing is this. So after pitch spooling and capsizing, we came to Tristan and Cunha. after 2 months in the rolling 40s. Tristan was discovered 1506 by Tristan and Cunha. To prevent the French from using the island as a base for a rescue operation to free Napoleon from his prison in St. Helena, 1,700 miles to the north. They were in 1815 occupied by a British military garrison. After a few years, they were withdrawn, realizing that the island was too far away and the seas were too stormy and that no harbor could be built, making it useless for a rescue attempt. Despite the stormy sea, its remoteness and inaccessibility, the island was a delightful place of residence, a blessed island. 5 men decided to stay. The only problem was lack of women, but it was solved by a passing ship whose captain went to St. Helena and for 5 gold coins bought 5 women. The cruel sea was a different matter. It demanded constantly its tribute in the form of men. But it also gave. Shipwrecked sailors married the island's widows, giving fresh blood to new generations. And so life went on that smaller island far out in the immense sea. There are 3 islands in the group lying at the corners of a triangle about 25 miles from each. Tristan, Nightingale and Inaccessible. Tristan is the youngest one, 1 million old. The 2 others, Nightingale and Inaccessible, are both 15 million years old. When we arrived, there were 292 inhabitants and a few expatriates from Britain and South Africa. They all lived close together in the settlement of Edinburgh. On all places of the island, of the whole island, it was just right next to the settlement. Tremors had started in 1961, just 13 years before I arrived. Some of the shipwrecked sailors were of Italian descent and guessed that the volcano was about to erupt. A radio description of the subterranean rumblings was transmitted to London with a request for help. A few days later, the islanders received the heartening answer not to worry, as Tristan was not situated in an active volcanic area. By then, red lava was flowing towards the settlement. As by a wonder, it stopped a stone's throw from the first houses. The flow suddenly changed its course to seaward. God's finger had stopped it, the island assured me. By then, they believed their senses more than the faraway scientists, sent out an SOS, launched their longboats, and sailed to Nightingale. From Nightingale, they were taken to England. The contact with the outside world shocked them. On Tristan, they had the canteen, a small store open 1 hour once a week, where I could buy some staple food, a few other basic things like nails for the men, knitting needed for the women. In England, there seemed to be no end to the number of shops. Street after street were filled with shops. Not only that, salesmen were knocking on their doors, coercing them into buying things they never heard of and they did not need. And as for payment, they only have to sign on the dotted line and everything would be fine. On Tristan, there existed only a limited number of items. Everyone knew what George's knife looked like. If Alan was out walking and feeling hot, he took off his jacket, left it on the path, putting a stone on it that the wind would not steal it. No one could steal Alan's jacket. On Tristan, not only things were limited, there was only 292 persons. If one died, there was 291. As one Tristan man put it, in England, there was as many people as sand on the beach. On Tristan, you said hello to everyone you met. You knew everyone, and everyone knew you. An impossibility in England. The islands were not prepared for this or for the crimes and diseases in the anonymous society they were no part of. After 2 years, it was reported that the volcano was no longer active, and the British government reluctantly let the islanders return. If the islanders had met with abundance, anonymity, crime and diseases, I encountered the opposite. I did not need to lock my boat. No one could get away with stealing my camera, for example, as there was only one camera on the island like it. Everyone greeted me, and I soon learned to greet everyone. When one evening on my way to an invitation, I got confused as to which house I was invited to, I reasoned that as everyone on the island knew everyone else, I could just knock on any door to get directions. I did not realize that I also was familiar with everyone. So to my surprise, when the door opened, the man said, "Hello Sven, what can I do for you?" One might think that on a little island like Tristan with no commercial entertainers, life would be dull when nothing ever happened. The above invitation was not the only one. With a population of 292 people, there were almost a birthday every day. The fact was that more exciting things happened on Tristan than any other place I visited. Besides social events like birthdays, funerals and marriages, there were special Tristan events like Ratting Day, when the whole community would be divided into teams which tried to kill as many rats as possible. In the evening, there was a dance and prizes were given to the team with the biggest number of tails and to the team with the longest tail. To be continued.